I've started the recording. Okay, so yeah, this is cool summer of coaching up for Jenkins Windows Services, and we are just doing our first introduction meeting. So let's start from introductions then.
Okay, hi, hello, I'm Buddhiga. So really grateful to work with you guys. I'm really happy to select into GSoC 2020 with you guys. So, and I'm a final year student in University of Moratuwa, and I just applied to this project. I was finding I had some kind of experiences in C# because I did my internship in a company called Apex, and I had to work in a .NET project. So first thing I find project which are familiar to me, because since it is my final year, there will not be a big time to turn into new technology. So I think actually I'm really happy to work in this project because I love to learn those things like Windows services, how those things happen, because I'm from a kind of a web development background actually. So it's really happy to work in kind of a CS like project. So so I like chess, playing chess, and I love music. So I think it's I don't know whether it's important here or not. Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much about me. And I'm really happy to work with you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much all.
Thank you. I also linked a blog post Budik published yesterday about paths to GSoC. So if you want to have more background, you can just take a look at this blog post. There is some. So yeah, welcome to the Jenkins project, and yeah, looking forward to work with you. Okay, Mike, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So Mike Zerioli, I work at CloudBees, much like Oleg. This is my first time participating in GSoC. I've not done a ton of open source stuff before joining CloudBees, but I've always had an interest in it. And I think I'm really excited about being a mentor on this project. One, because way back in time, like I developed a few Windows services. It was something I hadn't thought of or seen anybody talk about in some time. So that interested me. And I'm just looking forward to, like, I've benefited a lot from open source software. I'm looking forward to doing something to give back in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm. So where are you based, Mike?
I'm based in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, or just outside of Raleigh.
So your time zone is UTC -5 or -6?
Yes. I think it's -5 at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So it might be important for the communications. And Budika, you're based in
plus 5:30.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm pretty flexible. I usually start my day relatively early because most of the people I work with are UTC plus a number of hours from me. And so, yeah, I'm flexible in terms of communications and anything we need to do for the most part.
Thank you. Next time, would you like to introduce yourself or to do it asynchronously? Yeah, taking the conversation for the call, I will assume asynchronously, but if you want to make an introduction, just comment on the chat, or if you prefer to speak, just do that. Okay, I will briefly introduce myself. So yeah, my name is Oleg Nashev. I'm one of Jenkins core maintainers. I have started working with Hudson in 2008. And after that, I've been maintaining Jenkins at several companies. and they were using both Windows and Linux, but historically we had a lot of Windows infrastructure. And when I started contributing to Jenkins in 2012, Windows ecosystem was one of my main targets, because we had a lot of Windows agents connected to our system, mostly for hardware and FPGAs testing. So we had some use cases, including running tests on FPGAs, testing drivers, etc. And we needed stable Windows infrastructure for that. So this is the time when I started actively working with Windows Service Wrapper and with Jenkins Windows Services, because we needed to improve them a lot to adjust them for our environments. And I started pushing changes there, and eventually I've been made a maintainer of Windows Service Wrapper, and also I maintain several Windows components in Jenkins, or at least I used to maintain them actively. But taking this project, I will be happy to keep working on this area, and I'm planning to be enough time to make it happen. And I'm really excited about this project, because firstly, it helps us to drive the Windows Service Wrapper community. We just created a new GitHub organization for that. We started setting up a framework for facilitating contributions, including pull request templates, various guidelines, etc. And we switch, say, CD flows, and having a GSoC project is a great opportunity to move this project forward. And same for Jenkins, we could align YAMLs and Windows services with other components. So it will be a great addition to Jenkins core, and it will help Windows users a lot. Okay. Sorry that it took a while, but yeah, had to work with you. Okay, I will add text later. Okay. Oh, next on, if you want to speak, we can do that. If not, I will just skip and continue with the agenda, and you can introduce yourself asynchronously. Okay, I will move on. So next time is one of contributors to Windows Service Wrapper, and currently we are working on transferring permissions, etc., so that you could share the workload on this area. And if you take a changelog, actually the most of recent contributions have been contributed by an extern. So it's much appreciated. And it's an honor to work together on this project. Okay, let's talk a bit about communication channels. Usually we start from common foundation work. So a chat, all GSoC teams need chat, all GSoC teams need to have meetings, and they also need to have some way to track issues. So my proposal, at least for chats and for GitHub issues, would be to use tools we already have for Windows Service Wrapper project. So to avoid inventing something new. For chat, we have this Gitter chat. It's Windows Service Wrapper / Windows Service Wrapper. Right now, it's not very active because, well, there are just a few contributors who actively write code for the project. It may change in the future, but right now, I think this channel would be quite comfortable for GSoC discussions. What do you think?
Either one works for me. Probably the chats are probably the least easy for me to use.
You mean IRC? Or?
I'm on IRC as well, but just in general, like I don't always have time to respond or see a request come across in chat and act on it as quickly. And then I worry about missing stuff. So discussion threads on GitHub issues are a little more suited to me, but I'm okay with, I have a Gitter account, I have IRC and I'm always logged in, so I can adjust my habits.
Well, we can also try to adjust. Technically, we could even enable GitHub discussions for this project, if it helps. I have never used them for real project. I have no idea how well it will work, but practically we could make a try.
I'm not using it either, but I'm down to give it a shot.
Okay, so I suggest we just switch to some asynchronous discussion, so we can use this channel by default for now.
Okay.
Start the discussion. Discussions. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll probably move GitHub up in the list then. So here, what we already have, here we have Windows Service repository. We have a bunch of issues there. There are two issues which are directly related to this project. So one is YAML configuration support. This one was actually a foundation issue for the project idea. And another issue which we have related is parsing and verification of configuration on startup. It's also in Budika's project plan. So this is what we have. But these issues are too high level for day-to-day work. At least it's my opinion. So what we could do, we could break them down. For example, create a new project like Google Summer of Code 2020. So there would be a dashboard. It can be a sprint mode or Kanban mode or whatever, where we would track the tasks during the project, and which we can manage and discuss. And we can give permissions to everybody so that you can manage this dashboard.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so create fine grain MSV and create a GitHub project. So one project should be enough, or do we want to split it somehow based on phases? What would be your preference, Budika?
I'm pretty okay.
We can always adjust as we go, so it's not something like we need to get it fixed now. Mm-hmm. That's the application route. It's here. Mm-hmm. So here, this is a document. So we can just start for deliverables, etc. So Budika, would you be interested to create issues based on your project plan?
Yeah, it's, I think so. And I think I have to clarify some things about project as well.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, I will create a dashboard and then you will be able to just create an issue. And maybe we could just focus on phase one, so not going forward. Okay, then next topic we would need to discuss is meetings. So for meetings, how we usually do that, we create a doodle and we try to organize 2 meetings per week. But these meetings don't have to be video calls. So for example, we could try doing them in the chat. I believe it would be more convenient for next term. So my suggestion would be to start from doing meetings in chat, and we can still do video calls if it's needed, if it's convenient for particular stories. Would it work for you? Would it work?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, meeting in chat means that we have a kind of office hours. So we get into the chat together. We quickly discuss the status, and yeah, basically it's done when it's done. So we try to move quickly with it. And for video calls, there is one opportunity. We have platform special interest group meetings. So these meetings happen every 2 weeks. So my suggestion would be to have a regular update at these meetings. So Jenkins IO 6 platform. Oh, right. We changed the URL recently because we were migrating to another CDN. And now my browser cache is just useless. So yeah, here we have video calls every 2 weeks. And one of the topics here is Windows support. So my suggestion would be to actually tie this project also to Platform Seek. So meetings happen on Thursdays at noon UTC. So there was a meeting today, and the next meeting will be in 2 weeks. So Budika, would this time be comfortable for you?
Yeah, okay. Actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I would suggest to have this meeting for video calls, so that we firstly meet with wider community, and secondly, still have some video sync ups. So it's Thursdays. Yeah, we'll make sure that we add Windows services to the agenda, so that we can gradually discuss this project, and hopefully we will be able to find more contributors through these meetings. So yeah, basically it addresses the Jenkins 6 topic. Okay, so that's all for communication channels. I guess for meetings, I will start a doodle, or maybe Budika, you could start a doodle, because you know what's your availability. So for the meeting slots, I think we could target 30-minute slots, but if needed, we will be able to extend them. Okay. So yeah, this is for communication channels. We have something like 5 minutes left, but I would like to briefly discuss what would be next for us. So we are just starting. We have 3 weeks until the community bonding is over. And for me, it would be important to spend this time efficiently. So firstly, to ensure that Budika has enough information to work efficiently on the project, that we resolve all permission issues, tooling issues, we do enough knowledge transfers, so that nothing really blocks from coding. The second part we would need to discuss is just planning. So to ensure that this document, that it's what we are planning to really implement. As we discussed yesterday, it's the guidance, so it doesn't have to be implemented as is. We have a lot of flexibility there, so we should use community bonding to discuss what we actually want to get. And once you create issues, we could just start the discussions right in these issues, so that we can basically break down this document to a public discussion for different topics. And actually, I had one question to discuss. So my understanding that during the second coding phase, you will be mostly unavailable because there will be exams, etc. So one of the options we have is to actually start coding earlier, so that well, basically nothing blocks you from starting doing experiments and prototypes even now. So if you see some tasks where you don't need much information for starting working on them, if you have time, you can start on that. But yeah, my suggestion would be to focus on the first phase, so that we could remove blockers there and start working on that quickly, because yeah, we could use opportunity and start working on that earlier than June 1st. How's your availability this month, Budika?
I'm here. There's not much things to do. I mean, we had to do a research project in a university, and we are working on that. But due to this COVID-19 situation, universities and whole country is closed. So actually, I'm real flexible these days. I don't know when universities will start, and just after universities start, then at the daytime I will be busy with my university studies. And actually, at the moment, I'm really free.
Okay, that's great. So basically, let's try to get issues, etc., prepared quickly, and see how we can unblock the first phase, so that yeah, we'll just start earlier, and then hopefully the COVID-19 situation gets resolved by July. I really hope it's the case, and then yeah, you can focus on exams. We also have a lot of things to do. So yep. Well, let's try to do that. Do you need any knowledge transfers, etc., at least in the beginning of the project?
Yeah, actually. I mean, as I mentioned before, I'm from a kind of a development background, so there are lack of some kind of CS knowledge to me. So there are some things I need to learn. I think currently I'm working on that XML validation project. I think you have seen that. So some kind of those things like validate Windows streaming, things like those kind of there are those kind of problems, but mainly I think I have to clarify actually what's happening on the source code. I mean, actually, what are happening on those modules. So I think I can clarify it on few. I mean, we don't need to actually set up video meetings for that, but I mean, just with the Git chat, I think we can clarify those things.
Yeah, it's one of the options. Maybe for that, it really makes sense to have a video call, just to go through the code and review the current structure. And for example, what the approach we use in other projects, we do a review, but then you as a student, you can basically make notes and then put these notes to the project, because right now we don't really have developer guidelines. Well, we have some, but yeah, for example, we do a recorded call, and then you spend some time to convert it to documentation. We also attach the link to this recorded call, and then it will be helpful not only to us, but also for any other newcomer contributor. If you're fine, we could organize this section, such session to the next week. Is it fine with you? Okay. So yeah, recorded call. Yeah, show and tell, and then we'll publish info. Okay. So let's try to do that, and even that would be already a good contribution to the project because it would help a lot. So we are going over time slightly. I actually have more time if needed. But so if you want to,
I need to drop off. Unfortunately, it was good to meet you. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited.
Yep. So Mike, please make sure to watch this repository so that we start assembling the things. And yeah, we'll try to do as many communications as possible in GitHub. Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. Thanks, Oleg. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye. So Budika, if you want, we can just continue. So for example, we could spend some time to set up the project, etc., so that this is already in place. Well, if you have time. If not, we can do it asynchronously.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess we agreed that we create a new project here. So it's GSoC 2020, and it would be YAML configuration support. And config validation. Okay. Description. Well, we have a description, right? Okay, so regarding template, we have multiple options. Well, what we can do is, well, I would just take Kanban with automatic reviews so that tickets move around automatically. But yeah, we can automate it later if needed. Let's try that. Anyway, we can change it later. So here there are 4 columns. It's to do, in progress, and review in progress, review approved. And well, I guess it's not ideal, but yeah, we can probably just move it to merged later. Okay, then I will just clean up these historical things. Okay, so here what we can do, go GSoC, and here you can just add cards. Later we can configure that all labels with GSoC tag automatically move here. So we really need to set up permissions then. So for permissions, I already created a GitHub team. I should have access to that. All right. So they think that there are differences between how repository permissions work and how project level permissions work. So here, for example, I created a repository level permission. And for that, I cannot really grant you permissions unless you have right permissions in the repository. So what we will do for that, I actually recreate the project, but I will use the organization level. I have no explanation why GitHub sets such obstacles, but it's GitHub. We have other stories to do. Okay, so I will just take what we created here. So project templates. Yeah, we split everything is the same. It's public. We connected to, well, it's anyway on the repository in the organization right now. Okay. 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 So I moved to them here instead of the previous epic. This one, I think I will just close. So now we have a project on the organization level, and here I can grant you permissions. Well, we have a team I created, GSoC Windows Service Wrapper. Have you already accepted an invitation to that team, Belita? Well, yeah, you have accepted the invitation. So yeah, you should have access to this project now, and you should be able to basically edit tickets, etc. So here we can just take a look whether our automation works. Settings. Yeah, so it should be fine. So for example, here we can, we have discussed document project structure. And let's just create a test task for that. Yeah, so there are some templates in the repository, and well, template for documentation is pretty wide open, but yeah, it would be great if you could follow these templates so that it's usable. Here, for example, let's say there's GSoC meeting. So we would like to have a code dive into project, and as a result, we'll okay. So what I usually ask in my projects is to have explicit acceptance criteria, because sometimes there are misunderstandings between students and mentors of what needs to be done. So by doing explicit acceptance criteria, we can agree what needs to be done. So for example, here, let's say, yeah, I just suggest an example, so we can edit it later. We already have documentation. And here there is no information, well, there is no developer guide section at all. So for example, a new developer guide is created. Linked from contributing and it includes view of the project. Right. It's link to the to the recorded overview video. And for example, here we can put another acceptance criteria is put the session is conducted. Okay. Does such acceptance criteria make sense to you?
Yeah.
So again, we can discuss it later. I'm just showing an example. So I will assign it to you. I will put a GSoC tag. And theoretically, once we do that, it should be automatically added to the project. And it wasn't. So I will need to fix automation for that. But yeah, in principle, what we can do, so since you have access to the project, you should be able to just put it on your own here. So let's see. So I will try to understand why it wasn't added automatically. But okay, for now we can just do something like that. So we added it to the project. And you can just start creating issues, and then you should have enough permissions to move them here, so that we assemble this plan for community bonding and for the first coding phase, or maybe just for the first deliverable. So it's up to you, and then we will keep working on that. Okay. So, yeah. And what I've done, I just modified it here. So how to avoid forgetting about action items in a Google Doc? You can just create an action items like that, and after that you can actually open a list of your action items across the Google Docs, or we can just review these action items on calls, so that we don't have to create specific tasks for minor items which are not related to code. Okay. So yeah, I will just do that. Okay. Okay. Is there anything else we could do today to help you to get started?
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah. So, could we do anything else today?
I think it's okay. I'm pretty much, and then by today, I think I better start reviewing the code base. And, I'll ask if there's something. I'll ask in JIT.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
So one thing you could do. So we have this Google Doc. And for example, I created a section. I'll just screen share. Okay, do you see my screen? So I created thing next meeting. So for example, when you review the code, or when you have any question which you would prefer to discuss online, not in the chat, you can just edit here. And if you want to discuss it in chat, just go to the chat and ask, because yeah, it will provide feedback more quickly than if we do it through the webinar, through the meetings.
Okay.
And yeah, so again, congrats with being accepted to Google Summer of Code. Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you during the next months. Yeah, hopefully it will be a productive period. So let's see.
Okay, bye.
Okay, thanks for your time. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
time as well.
Okay.